I'm Keith, welcoming you to another home media minefield, helping you with information to navigate the complexities of home cinema and home media entertainment. And in today's show, we are going to look at the Star Trek, the original motion picture collection, Blu Ray. This set and the series in itself has gone through many iterations and changes over the years. It isn't currently available in 4K as of the recording of this, so I don't know whether a 4K UHD is going to be available at some point. It is available on various streaming services. With regards to the Blu-ray release, this has been released a number of times. Essentially the packaging has changed in those times, but the actual physical discs themselves, the Blu-ray discs, have been consistent upon all of those releases. It is really important to point out, first of all, that on this collection it is the theatrical cuts of all of the movies that are on this. Star Trek has had quite a history with the motion pictures. There have been various director's editions. There was a director's edition of the original Star Trek the motion picture, which came out in 2001, and it contained extra footage, extra scenes and enhanced visual effects. Now, those enhanced visual effects were actually only mastered in standard definition at the time, so unfortunately there isn't a high def version of that available as of yet. I believe it is being worked on. So all of the versions that have been available on Blu-ray so far have been the standard theatrical edition. That also applies to Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan. There is also a director's edition of that available with some extra scenes and some extra character moments in there. That has subsequently been released on a separate Blu-ray, which contains both the original and the director's edition of the film, and it does indeed contain a new documentary as well. The other film in this collection, which is also an original theatrical version, is Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Most of the home media releases had always been the, again, slightly extended director's versions with a couple of moments and a few extra scenes, a Starfleet conspiracy subplot, etc. But unfortunately, those are missing from this edition as well. So, onto the transfers of these films. This is where we get into terminology. It says that most of the films have been remastered, okay, but Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan has been restored, okay? So the differences between those terms, which are somewhat ambiguous, means that the only film that they say has been fully restored in 4K is Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan. All of the others have been remastered from a scan that was done from the original film negatives for the DVD release in 2001. Most of the films here look far better than anything that's been available beforehand. Some of the DVD releases, obviously, which is standard definition, but some of them did look a bit mushy on the transfer. Again, because these are film, you do see some grain here with the 4K transfers, and you also notice a lot of details on things like the Starfleet uniforms, etc. Although these transfers do look very good, it would be lovely to get a 4K UHD version of these films, which I'm sure Paramount have plans for at some point, but these are still worth investing in as they currently are. With regards to the audio on all of these all have a 7.1 Dolby audio remastering as well. Again, separation is fairly good, something that really is very close to my heart, and that is special features. And again, the Star Trek collection here has lots of special features. However, it is one of those franchises that has suffered from some special features being missing from the DVD versions, as well as a lot of new special features on the Blu Ray versions. So again, if you're a completist, if you like to have all of this material, unfortunately the bad news is there's not a perfect one-stop solution for this. On the good news side, this still has a huge wealth of special features across the set. They all have not only original commentaries but new commentaries, as well as all of the original and some newer retrospective documentaries, deleted scenes, trailers, TV spots. They also have interactive Trek library, as they call it, which brings up text information on screen while you're watching the various films, with either production information or information, fictional information from the Star Trek universe. So that is all available on all of these editions. Also, you see on the packaging that there's over 2.5 hours of new bonus features on the Blu-ray discs, and over 12 hours of original bonus content, which was ported over from the special edition DVDs that came out in the early 2000s. So obviously a lot of those special features are still in standard def because they've just been ported over. But as I said, we have lost a few things. Now, the one that's been the biggest casualty of this is indeed Star Trek the Motion Picture. This here is the Region 1 Director's Edition DVD that came out in 2001. And there are some of the features from that are sadly not available on the Blu-ray edition. You don't get the actual Director's Edition cut. So as I've mentioned, Robert Wise and his team went back and they not only remastered the film, but they added some scenes and some new CG visual effects to finish off the film and release the version of the film that he always intended. So that version of the film, as I said, is not on the Blu-ray edition. Also on the Region 1 DVD, they did have inside the cover a slip note from the now late Robert Wise, where he explained about the restoration of the film and the director's edition. That note is not available on the Blu-ray set. So has a commentary that he and his team did around the director's edition, where they explained a lot of the choices and a lot of the decisions that they made. That is obviously absent from this as well. So there are some things, as I said, that haven't made the Blu-ray version. Star Trek the Motion Picture gets a audio commentary from Denise and Michael Okuda that originally did, they've worked a lot on the show as consultants, and they used to do a text commentary, which this is one of the things that is not available on the Blu-rays that was on the DVDs. However, most of that information can be found in a section that they're calling Library Computer, which is an interactive section of the Blu-ray which brings up trivia on various aspects of Star Trek, both from a production and a fiction point of view. So you get a lot of that back. Star Trek To the Wrath of Khan has a really entertaining commentary by Nicholas Meyer. Nicholas Meyer's full of good stories and lots of information on the production, so that made it into this version, as did a new commentary with Nicholas Meyer and Manny Koto, who was one of the producers of the Star Trek Enterprise series, and it was quite interesting to have the director and a Star Trek fan discuss that film in some depth. Star Trek 3 The Search for Spock, it has the original commentary on that by Leonard Nimoy, Harve Bennett and some of the other production team, so that one carries over. But there's also a new commentary by Ronald D. Moore and Michael Taylor, who were producers of some of the later Star Trek television series. So that's a very interesting commentary where they say how they were influenced by some of the things from these films in the creation of what they did for the TV shows. We're talking the likes of Next Gen, Deep Space Nine and Voyager. So that is a really worthwhile addition to the special features on this Blu-ray set. Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home gets a bantery commentary from William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, which again was recorded back when the original DVD releases came out. But it also gets a new commentary by Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orci, who were the writers of the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. So again, they give some insights as to how they were influenced by those films, in the writing of their film. All of these as well include a wealth of documentaries. There's some retrospective documentaries which again were made around the time of the DVD release. So all of those are still there, as well as original interviews back from the production side when these films were made, and also, as I said, some new information in there as well. So for anyone that's interested in filmmaking and interested in the Star Trek universe in particular, there is actually a wealth of bonus material across these films. Star Trek V: The Final Frontier gets a commentary by William Shatner and his daughter Liz, who also wrote the book on the making of that series, but actually an even more interesting commentary from the Okudas, the Reeves Stevens, and some people involved in visual effects, which talk about it in a newly recorded commentary, newly recorded for the Blu-ray release, where they talk about the production in a lot more detail, and they talk about it as both sort of fans as well as being involved in later Star Trek series as well. So that's well worth a listen. Star Trek VI again ports all of the previous material over from the DVD release. That includes a commentary by director Nicholas Meyer and the co-writer Martin Denny Flynn, which again is a very in-depth commentary into the production. And the new commentary is from Deep Space Nine producer Ira Steven Beer and Larry Nemechek, where they talk about the film in retrospect. So you do get a 7th bonus disc with this, which is called the Captain's Summit. It was recorded in 2009. It's hosted by Whoopi Goldberg, who played Guinan in Star Trek The Next Generation, and she interviews William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, Jonathan Frakes and Patrick Stewart, and she talks to them about how Star Trek has impacted their lives, how it's changed things for their career, how they deal with fandom, etc., etc. And they have amusing stories and anecdotes around this. So it's not a bad additional disc. Did it need to be on its own separate Blu-ray disc? Probably not, but that's what we ended up with there. So that's about a 70-minute interview, which is bonus to this set. So that rounds out the original motion picture collection, which it actually is still available. It has, as I mentioned, been released numerous times since. It was released as the Stardate Collection, which also included the 4 Star Trek The Next Generation movies as well. But essentially, the content was still exactly the same on the Blu-ray discs. And again, in 2016, it was re-released again for the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, but essentially the same collection. What did get released in 2016 that I mentioned briefly was what they renamed the Director's Cut, but the Director's Edition of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This high-def release has both the theatrical cut and the slightly longer Director's Edition. It also restores the text commentary by Denise and Michael Okuda, which was missing from the original Blu-ray, and it does have a new retrospective documentary that was recorded in 2016 with Nicholas Meyer and various people from the production discussing the film. Again, if you want to be an absolute completist that is the version to go out and buy if you want that director's cut as well as the theatrical version. It's also released, which included the 4 Star Trek The Next Generation movies in that as well. I'm going to be looking at those films in the next edition, so please stick around. I'll be reviewing those in some detail. But if you find this information helpful, then please do like, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything, and please help spread the word and share it. I am going to be reviewing all sorts of films from all sorts of different genres and TV shows on this channel. So if there's anything particular that you'd like me to talk about, please put it down in the comments below and I will add it to the schedule. And if you're interested in Star Trek or movies in general, please check out a couple of podcasts that I'm involved in. I'll put the links in the show notes down below. One is called Let's See What's Out There, and that is looking at the Star Trek franchise. The other is called Movie Heaven, Movie Hell, where we look at various filmmakers and various different film and TV franchises. So please check those out also. And do share and spread the word, and I really appreciate you coming here. We are a new channel, thank you for your time today, and I will speak to you next time.